So let's talk about how to maximize your profitability in your business. Here's 8 keys to maximize profitability by finding and fixing your money leaks, or the money flowing out of your control that you might not even know about, so that you can keep more of the money you're already making. Because here's the problem. Many people fall into one of these 3 self-defeating traps. Either they start working harder, meaning that they're putting more time and energy into working their business more than they already were. And they might make more income, but they might burn out in the process as well. And we certainly don't want to burn out. We want to create that life and business we love. So that is one of the self-defeating traps. Another is taking on more risk. And what does this do? Well, we're told by the financial industry that we should take on more risk so that we'll get more returns, right? But it doesn't work that way. More risk actually means a higher potential of loss. And if you're taking more risk with your money and then losing more, you're actually back at square one and all of your efforts have been for nothing. The third self-defeating trap is when somebody says, well, I'm just going to cut back. I'm just going to scrimp. I'm going to save as much as possible. I'm going to not eat out. I'm going to not turn on the air conditioning in the summer. I'm not going to turn the heat on in the winter. I'm going to keep the lights off to keep the electricity bill low. And all of these things just end up in a position where you start hating life and you're miserable as a result. So let's not do those 3 things to increase profitability. Instead, here are 8 keys to have the fastest, most sustainable, and easiest to accomplish profitability without working harder, without cutting back, and without taking on more risk. The first key is to be aware of your cash flow. Now, if you're not aware of where your money's going on a regular basis, chances are you are spending more than you realize. Maybe a gym membership that you didn't remember that you still have in place that you're not using, or a subscription that you're no longer wanting. Or sometimes we just make decisions that are incongruent with our value system, or we're not even aware of how much something costs because we just paid with the credit card and we didn't even pay attention to the balance. We really want to make sure that we're aware of our cash flow. The best way to do this is to track your money and also to be meeting on a weekly or a monthly basis with people that you're making financial decisions with. In your business, this could be an accountant. In your personal life, it might be a spouse or whoever you're making financial decisions with. You want to be talking on a weekly or monthly basis to make sure that you're on track with the money you're spending. The second way to increase your profitability without working harder is to look at your taxes. Now, this is a really specific area where a lot of times people are losing way more money than they think they are. You will need to work with a proactive CPA or tax strategist to really take a good look at what the best strategies could be for you in your business. That might mean changing your entity type. It might mean changing the way that you're paying yourself so that you have less self-employment tax due. It might mean utilizing a corporate rent strategy where you have money coming over to you on the personal side that's a business deduction but also not taxable on your personal side as income. It might mean that you're using a cost segregation strategy in your business where you're able to accelerate depreciation on some portion of your business real estate. It could mean using 1031 exchanges to postpone capital gains tax on your real estate ventures. Now, these are just a few of the ways that you can look at your taxes and make sure you're paying the minimum tax today and every year going forward in the future. And I want to mention, I did not say anything about tax deferral. If you defer tax, you're just postponing. You will have to pay in the future. Instead, we want to make sure that we minimize our tax today and in the future. That keeps more dollars in your pocket. The third thing we want to look at when it comes to maximizing profitability in an easy way is how are we paying off debt? Most people think of debt as something that is any place that they have a liability. And really, debt is just simply meaning that you owe money on something. What we want to do is think differently so that we can extend our payments, have smaller fixed payments each month, boost our credit score, and be in a position where you have collateral. That really means focusing in on the asset side of your net worth equation rather than chipping away and removing the liabilities. We really want to focus on building assets instead. The fourth place where a lot of people have money flowing out of their control is in their saving and investing strategy. Now, if your savings and your investments are not in your control and helping you progress towards time and money freedom, they're actually a money leak. What you need is money that's accessible to you so that you can access it when you want to deploy it into an investment opportunity. You want money that's growing at a competitive return, that's compounded and consistent with no losses. And you want money that is not going to lose value. The fifth area where you can increase your profitability is by looking at your protections. Now, this area is often overlooked because we don't necessarily think of protections as causing a loss of our capital and control. But if you don't have the protections in place, think of your liability coverage in your business. Possibly your errors and omissions coverage or your professional liability. Think of your umbrella policy and your life insurance, your disability, your auto, your homeowners. These are areas where if you don't have the protection in place, you're open to tremendous exposure. And that actually causes scarcity because you're worried about what might happen if that money were to be lost. What we want to do is have as much protection in place as possible, but pay as little as possible for it. One key is that you can bundle your protections under one company. You can usually get a bundling discount. And one of my favorite keys here is to make sure you have an umbrella policy. A lot of times I see people trying to max out their liability coverage on their underlying policies, and those are much more expensive dollar for dollar than lowering that liability coverage on your underlying home and auto insurance, for instance, and layering on top umbrella policy, which is lower cost dollar per dollar. Always make sure you have an umbrella policy on your business and in your personal life. The sixth way that you can increase your efficiency and your profitability by minimizing money leaks is to look at the efficiency in your business. When you put one piece of effort forth, make sure that that can be accessible to more people. As you serve more people, then you expand the output in your business without increasing your input. Think of this, for instance. If you could create one piece of content and instead of just delivering to one person, you could create something that served many people, maybe in a group coaching format or an online training course. Think about how you can use your time and energy to maximize your impact. The seventh thing that you can really do to increase your profitability is to focus on abundance. Now, if you're in a position where you are cutting back and being competitive and thinking about what's the worst case scenario that can happen, you're in a position where you are not going to be performing at your highest potential. Instead, you want to open yourself up to be as creative and expansive as possible. One of my favorite keys here is Joe Polish's ELF formula: easy, lucrative, and fun. Find those things that are easy for you to do, that are lucrative, that you know are going to make money, and that they're fun. And usually the best step to figuring that out is to do something that's in line with your unique abilities, something that comes naturally and easily to you that maybe doesn't to somebody else. That's your unique advantage. Maximize that and find a way to stay in a great perspective of creative collaboration so that your efforts will go further. And finally, the eighth thing that you can focus on to increase your profitability is to focus on profitability. If you're in a position where you prioritize profit and you set that aside first, you pay yourself first before you spend in your business, you will be profitable. The problem is a lot of times we focus on all the things that we want to spend and profit comes as a last resort or at the end of the rainbow or if everything else works out okay for us. If you prioritize profit and make it a priority, take it first before you pay the expenses, you're going to be in a position where you're paying attention to all of these other 7 factors. Hey, I hope you liked this video. If you did, click the link in the description box below for more information. And don't forget to like this video. Share your comments, questions, and feedback in the comments section below. And don't forget to hit subscribe to our YouTube channel.